Hello, 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 and welcome back to
A Little Birdie Told You.
I'm your host, Kristen Knight.
And I'm your host, Kelly Knight.
So, your ex just reached out and you're contemplating on what to do. You're like, should I text them back? Should I call them back? Should I ignore them? Well, today, me and Kelly are going to give you our advice and give you our opinion on what you should do when your ex reaches out.
Today's quote is, if they want to, they will. If they wanted to, they would have.
Now, I love that quote because we always say if he wanted to, he would. And this applies to both genders, but we always say if he wanted to, he would when we're in a relationship or when we're talking to somebody, right?
And when we're saying if they wanted to, they would have, is like, in general, if somebody ends a relationship or you end a relationship, I'm not meaning by somebody's probably going to text you if you ended a relationship, but in general, somebody ended a relationship with you because they took you for granted or like cheated on you or just in general, anything that would align with that. In general is like, why all of a sudden do they want to text you? Why all of a sudden, why do they feel obligated to like all of a sudden like have interest in talking to you again?
Yeah, because if they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to keep the relationship, they would have kept the relationship. So that's kind of what that quote means to us, and that's why we thought it would be a good idea to bring that in. So take that in consideration when they text you and say, do I really want to put my energy into this?
Even though when you're in a relationship, don't sit there and like, if you text them once and let's say like you've been left undelivered for like 3 hours and you're like, okay, I'm gonna like text them again just in case like it didn't go through, like maybe they didn't get it, maybe they didn't see it. They saw it. Like, they saw it. Don't worry. They saw it. So, like, don't sit there and text them again.
Well, yeah, and people have lives, so sometimes people aren't going to answer you right away. But referring back to text, because we're talking about text right now, that if someone doesn't text you back and they continuously don't text you back, do not keep texting them because obviously they do not want to talk to you. And like we said, if they wanted to, they would. I always think about that phrase and I always tell Kelly that. And in the moment, sometimes you're like
if you feel their energy getting pulled back, just like pull back your energy too. Why put it in?
In the moment, you might be like, do I really want to take that advice? Do I really want to hear that? Maybe somebody out here needs to hear that right now. If they wanted to, they would. Because if somebody truly wants to do something, they're going to do it, right? They're going to make sure or reassure you that they actually care. So if your ex texts us, Kelly, do you think you should text back? Do you think you should respond or should you just ignore them and act like you never even seen it?
I'm going to say no. Obviously, that can like go in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. Like the way things like may have ended with you, but I'm gonna say no because Kristen's always told me this, like the no contact thing. Like I think it's like a no contact rule that people will follow like after like the relationships ended, and I feel like that is important because it's like you shouldn't be like texting somebody if you ended a relationship with them and like give them mixed signals, but also like you also shouldn't text them like right away if you still have feelings for that person if they ended the relationship, because if you are trying to like start a relationship, like a friendship with them again, like you kind of like need to have those feelings like be gone and just be like, okay, it's a fresh start and I'm just a friend to you, like I don't see anything else more.
Well, there's a few factors we need to take in consideration. Is the person texting, the ex, is that the person that broke up with you? Or did you end the relationship with them? Or was it like a mutual breakup? Then you need to take in consideration the duration of time from the breakup. Like, was the breakup a week ago, a month ago, a year ago?
I would say you probably need at least like 2 months.
Before you decide to connect with them again?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, people might be like, that really depends. If it was more mutual, I guess that's really up to you, the way your feelings are. But like, also, if you're going to start talking to that person again, like no matter what side of it was, like if you ended it or ended it, like in general, you need to like make that clear to them that like you just want a friendship with them.
Some people don't want just a friendship.
I'm just
they
saying
want
that.
they were like waiting for that text to come through. You should not wait on someone's text to come through. Do not sit there and wait on somebody. Never wait on somebody. Even if you do feel that you're destined to be with that person, if that's something that you would consider, or you truly believe like that's your person, you need to be with that person again. And I know sometimes we fall into that trap where we've met somebody and in the instant we're like, this is my person. This is that person that I'm going to be with. It might not be. And sometimes people find their way back to each other. And I want to be optimistic. I don't want to be pessimistic about this. But you also need to think, don't wait, because that's your time to learn.
Honestly, if you really think that's your person, I would say literally just like pull back everything and let the universe like literally like guide you. Because if you pull back yourself, you're like, okay, like I don't like that person. Like you start like, you're like, no, I don't really want anything to deal with that person. Then all of a sudden they start getting like,
but let me give you some advice here is if someone breaks up with you or you break up with someone and you're like, okay, you thought that was your person and they're like, nope, that's not my person. Or you think that is your person still and they broke up with you and they're like, I don't want to be together with you anymore. Allow them to go out and date other people and you go date other people because during that time, they're going to figure out what they really want and you're going to figure out what you really want. And the qualities you're looking for in a significant other, if they align with that person, then you know that that's your person. And sometimes people do find their way back to each other. But if an ex texts you that broke up with you and it's been a while, right? And you're like, you've healed from the relationship. What I find funny and amusing is that typically exes try to come back like when it's convenient for them and we're completely content on our own without them, or we've moved on and we're with someone else, or we're just satisfied.
Like you're doing better in life.
Yeah. And
like they always come back when like they see you doing better because they're like, dang. Like they just kind of like they acted like it didn't even faze them.
I think it's out of jealousy or it's out of the feeling as like they don't need me anymore. Like I think the ex is like, dang, like they actually like they got back up and continued walking.
I will always say exes come back at one point in your life.
I do believe that.
I don't know what. I don't know what's with that. They always
find their way back into your life, or it's just, I don't know if it's a trick, but it's just like, it seems like they always come back. Like they always will appear right back in front of you and you're like, oh no. And so you might not have feelings for them. So say your ex texts and you still have feelings for them, and they just because someone texts does not mean they plan on getting back together. Sometimes your ex is playing games with you, and don't fall into that trap.
You have to really watch with that though,
really
because if they are like being flirtatious with you, you have to like watch, because they might just be trying to pull you again and be like, oh, do they like still like me? Do they still have feelings for me? Or like in general, like they might just be trying to play mind games with you.
Or occasionally this happens where they're already talking to somebody new and they just want you there as like that bandage, that little bandage that we like to say, or that cushion just in case something falls through with that person. They still have you there to jump back onto, and they do play that game. People do play that game, and it's really hurtful, but they will do it because they're like, well, at least it works in my favor, right? And you don't know that they're doing that, and you're like, oh, everything's going great. So really what I would do is if your ex texts is like Kelli said, no, to not answer them. Some people like to establish a friendship again. I really think it depends on you and your personal preference and how much you've healed. If you have not healed from the relationship or the breakup, and if they're the person that broke up with you, like if they took you for granted and they broke up with you and they cheated on you, or and they
why
were
give them a second chance?
Abusive, why give them a second chance? Please do not text them back. Do not fall back into that trap.
And in general, if you are thinking about texting them back, because I don't know, maybe you don't want to text them back, whatever, that's completely up to you. But in general, if you do end up texting them back, I would say give it a day or two. If you're like going to answer them like kind of like faster than a month or two, like I'm gonna say like you got to give it like 2 days. Don't
like if they texted, don't answer back like in 5 minutes.
like because it's gonna make you like look like you don't have a life, and you're like, oh my god, like you've been waiting for that text. But like 2, it's like you also like.
They might
like,
perceive,
what's the point of like putting all that energy and being like, oh, I'm gonna answer them right away when they may have did something bad to you?
If they left you, then why are you going to put all this energy into them? And the way you have to look at it is you don't want somebody thinking that they left and they can just come and go back and forth in your life as they please. Do not set that foundation and that standard for them. You have to say, if you want to come back into my life, you actually have to show me like a reason to let you back into my life. Are you going to be there to support me, or is everything going to be reciprocated? Am I giving you the same amount of energy that you're giving back to me? You know what I mean? Don't bring someone back into your life just because, oh, they texted me. No, that's not how it works. If they left you, that does nothing to do with other people, but like an ex, if they just dropped you like they were nothing. And it's kind of sad because some of these exes or these people that they were in relationships with, one day they're sitting there talking to you like everything's perfect, and then the next day they drop you like you're nothing. And if someone's ever done that to you and they randomly just text out of the blue, why are you going to just allow them back into your life even though they dropped you like you were nothing and treated you like you were nothing? And they say you learn the most about somebody at the end of a relationship. I do think that's true. So this is what I want to talk about with the heartbreak thing. If someone hurts you once and they texted you, right? Why are you going to allow someone that hurts you once to hurt you again? And provide that opportunity for them to hurt you again. And I like to look at heartbreak like this, right? I always tell everyone this: when you get into a relationship with somebody, it's comparative to handing them a gun, and not realistically, but actually handing them like a gun with your feelings. The gun represents your feelings, and you're allowing them to point it at your heart and you're hoping and you have hope that they're not going to pull the trigger, right? And say they pulled that trigger, they broke your heart, they hurt you. And then all of a sudden they try to come back into your life and they're like, let's pursue this again. That's like you handing them the gun again and hoping they're not going to pull the trigger. What's the point? Why allow someone to do that?
And I will say, if they cheated on you, once a cheater is always a cheater.
You believe that?
Yeah, I do. Because it's like, if that's their mindset now, it's most likely going to be their mindset then.
Well, habits become character.
Exactly.
And it takes a lot to change habits. It's not something that happens like instantly. It takes time. That's like if you're developing new habits. Do you acquire them instantly? No, it takes time to actually develop those habits and those traits that become your character. So Kelli believes once a cheater, always a cheater. So don't allow a cheater to come back into your life then. But I think if your ex texts, honestly, if they did something like that, if they did something that hurt you, they broke up with you, don't give them the time of day. Just move on, because don't go back. It's kind of like a book, and our life's like a book.
What I always say is like, what's the point of giving somebody a second chance when like there's somebody out there better that will treat you better, won't take you for granted, won't cheat on you, none of that, and they'll actually treat you right, and you're over here like giving your ex a second chance when they already screwed something up.
Yeah, and life's like a book. You're supposed to continue throughout
like, start
the chapters.
something new with somebody else.
Yeah, start something new. Keep going.
Like, if you already gave somebody a chance, just move on and go
or
to
don't start anything with anyone else. Maybe this chapter of your story or your life is to focus on yourself. And sometimes
even
that's
after a
what has to
breakup,
happen.
though, like, you gotta have some time to like heal. Don't like run off and like use somebody else as like a bandage. We've talked about this. Like, it's hurtful, because it's like, imagine you being the person that's like sitting here like, oh dang, this person likes me, when like, no, they're just using you as like.
And if they're reaching out during your healing process, don't answer them if you don't feel like you're healed enough to even deal with them, because that's just going to inhibit your healing process. And you're not, what's going to happen is they're going to trigger past emotions, and you're going to start all the way back over again. Now, they could reach out. I don't know what they said when they reached out, okay? I mean, generally, like, I'm talking about them reaching out to try to establish a connection. Sometimes exes just reach out to kind of test us a little bit, I think, and see where they stand with us, because sometimes they think, oh, we're on bad terms, we're on good terms, we're on neutral terms. What kind of terms are we on? You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying by that? And they might just randomly like be like, hi, how are you? That doesn't mean anything, though. Don't sit there and like question it and be like, oh, this means he wants to get back together. This means she wants to get back together. That might not mean anything. And I would just go about it if they did text like that, and don't expect too much out of it. If you want to answer them and you want to establish a friendship, and you're at that point with yourself that you're like, I have the ability to establish a friendship with them again, then go right ahead. I'm not saying you can't be friends with your ex, because sometimes we get out of relationships with somebody and we realize we were so much better off with friends. And sometimes going from a relationship to a friendship is actually a really interesting dynamic, because it's like you kind of already been through so much with that person that the friendship it's a nice friendship. Sometimes, I'm not saying this for all, but if the ex was abusive, the person you were in a relationship was abusive, and they cheated on you, they took you for granted, I really wouldn't talk to them. But if it was a mutual friendship or mutual like relationship and you both ended
sometimes it's hard with that though, because I mean, I can relate to this, is like, if you like dated a friend, it's sometimes hard to like try to like keep a friendship there, because like if there's somebody that like doesn't take no for an answer, they'll keep asking you like,
That's true.
like, okay, like, why can't we get back together? Like, why'd you break up with me? Like this or that, and like keeps questioning it, and then like they still like you, so they flirt with you, and it's like you just want to keep a friendship dynamic, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know,
I don't know. If I were you and your ex trying to come back into your life, I would just keep on moving. I would just keep doing your own thing.
like, I would stay neutral with them.
Yeah, I would stay
But
neutral.
like, I wouldn't really get all buddy with them again, because it's like,
Well, it's like that's that person's like, I wouldn't say ending in your life, because it might not be. And some people do end a relationship and find themselves back in that relationship, and it becomes successful.
because I will say is like, if you're like all of a sudden like, you know, you're over your ex or whatever, and they're coming back into your life or something, or like maybe you already kind of had a friendship with them, and then all of a sudden you start getting interest in somebody else and you start dating somebody else, sometimes they try to ruin that for you. Like by
That's
like
true.
trying to like like be flirtatious with you again and like be like, oh yeah, I like you, and like try to mess up things,
try to
and then they
destroy
just back off right when you like get feelings for them.
because they don't
again.
want to see you happy, maybe.
Exactly.
But sometimes if it's just friends, honestly, I think it really, you need to take in consideration the duration of time of the ending of the relationship. Because if it was something fresh and it just happened like a month ago or like even 3 or 4 months ago, then I don't know if I would necessarily contact them again. I mean, Kelly, have you had this experience? What do you think you should do? Do you think that you should you keep talking to them?
I mean, I regret past things of like talking with
do?
any of my exes, to be honest, because like I was always the person that was like, oh yeah, you know, I'll stay friends with them because
Stay neutral. Let's stay neutral.
Like I was like, yeah, let's just stay neutral. I'm like, I don't want to be on bad terms with anybody, and then it's like anything that kind of happened, like me in the future. Now I'm like, dang,
You got
looking
your hopes
back
up.
at it, I'm like, one, you know, you get your hopes up, but like two, I'm like, dang, you know, like the only time they came around was just to kind of like mess things up in my life. Like if I was like getting another relationship with somebody else, like they're like, no, I don't want that to happen.
I would just keep on moving forward. I really wouldn't bring them back into your life if they find themselves back into your life. Stay neutral, kill them with kindness, right?
Like,
I
don't
wouldn't
wish anything bad on them.
Yeah, don't wish
But
anything
like,
bad on them.
honestly, just be like, you had your time, boo. Just go out the door.
Like if they text you and like, hey, how's it going? Text them back, but don't text them back right away.
Or like honestly,
be neutral.
Or like honestly, like if they start texting you, you know, like when they text you, okay, give it 2 days, answer them. Then you know, give it another like 5 days, answer them.
And they might give
You know,
up.
like you gotta like don't answer them all on the same day. Give it some time. Like,
yeah,
you know,
don't, because what they're gonna think is that you're putting them on like some significance of importance. Like they mean so
like
much.
you need
to
to answer them
like
fast.
you answer. Typically, we answer people that mean more, that are more important to us quicker, right?
Yeah, why put all the energy in?
Yeah, why put all that
Just
energy
like focus on the good things in your life. Focus on what's going on in your life, not
especially
their life.
if they broke up with you. If they broke up with you, why put all this energy into them? You dropped me, so why should I place you on this pedestal and act like you're everything and I should just go running back to you? Don't run back to somebody that left you. Now, if this is your ex, now if you're in the case where you're the one that broke up with them and they reached out and you still don't feel that way about them, set a boundary. Like Kelly said, don't answer them right away, or be direct and upfront and say you don't really
I
want
would
to
still
communicate.
give it time though. Even if you were the person that broke up with them, like I said, give it like 2 days.
So they can heal.
Just because you need a little bit, like your mind's going to be kind of everywhere and they might all of a sudden just like let out all these feelings, because it's like your feelings are very like tender, I guess you can say. And like if you text them back, they might just like let out all their feelings and be like, please, like just get back together with me or something. You know what I'm saying? And just like they need a little bit of time, you know?
And if it was a mutual breakup and they reach out, and if we're saying text, but this could be either way, text, call, DM, I don't know, any way that you communicate with this person and they find their way, like you might have blocked them and they go into your DMs and be like, hey, how's it going? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, right? But if it was a mutual breakup, that's really up to you personally. You could text them. You don't have to, because mutual breakups are more content, I feel, and understood because there was a reasoning behind it. But breakups where someone left you and they're texting you, do not text them back right away. Don't even, I don't know. I honestly, personally, no one has to go with my advice here, but I wouldn't give them the time of day again. Because I look at somebody, if you left me, we're done. You're
Do
not
you give
coming
second chances?
Do I give second chances? I already said this. I said it's comparative. If someone broke my heart and they, you know, metaphorically shot the gun right at my heart and broke my heart, I'm not going to hand you that gun again. Because would you hand, that's like if someone actually shot you in real life, are you going to hand them the gun again and be like, oh, you're not going to shoot me? Most likely, I wouldn't trust them with that gun again. And that's how I feel about second chances when it comes to heartbreak. Second chances and other things I would have to consider. But really, it's the context of the situation and between the two people and how long it's been. You know, if you were dating somebody in middle school and it was a little tiny relationship, or maybe it was, I don't know what kind of relationships y'all have in middle school. And then all of a sudden you're in college, right? And you're like my age, right? And they're thinking about dating you and talking to you.
That's different, because like that's out of like maturity.
That's why I said it's the duration of time. Now you dated someone. Say Kelly dated somebody a month ago, right? And they broke up a month ago. They broke up a month ago, and they reach out to her. He reaches out now. that's something where you'd be like, nah, we're good. I don't know. Would you answer that person?
No.
Probably not. And I don't know if I would answer somebody. If somebody drops you, please do not get back together with them. It depends on the timing, but do not just go running back to somebody that like tossed you around. Because the way I look at it is when you have someone who means a lot to you, and if they really cared and they valued you, right? When we value something, what do? We take care of it. Typically we take care of it and we're like, I'm not going to risk losing this. It's like someone hands you something and I say, Kelly, take this and please take care of it. And you really value, you're like, I'm going to take care of it. Just like a relationship, you value the relationship. And then all of a sudden I just drop it and I'm like, yeah, I'm done with this. And then I come over to it. Now I want to give it all this value all of a sudden. Why didn't you realize my value at the beginning? So that's why I say it's sometimes if someone just drops you like you're nothing, why allow them to come back and act like they value you now? Because sometimes people realize something's value once it's gone because they realize how strong that person is or emotionally secure that person is, and then they want them back into their life. So overall, should you text your ex or reach back out to your ex when they text you or call you and they reach out? Should you answer them or should you ignore them? Overall,
I'm gonna say no.
I'm going to say it really depends on you. You don't have to take my advice. It really depends on you. But I'm going to be honest. If they broke up with you, no. I would just continue on and
obviously
experience different things.
Trust your gut and your intuition. If you want to, then you do you.
If your gut, I always say go with your intuition. If your intuition,
don't sit over here and follow us and then something goes bad.
Yeah, but sometimes your heart blocks your mind, and in the moment,
in general, I've been like that before. Like I've had to learn that Like you have to like choose like your mind over heart in a lot of situations, especially with relationships. Don't always go with your heart because no matter how much you like somebody, like you kind of need to listen to like your mind.
That's why I feel like you have to be healed. And I think you actually have to consider, am I really healed from this? And then decide if you want to answer them or not, or reach back out to them or establish some sort of friendship again. Because if you're not healed, then you're just going to allow like past trauma to come back. And those feelings that were triggered to just come back and explode. And sometimes you might have a lot of hate for that person and resentment towards that person. And that might just explode out towards them. And really, you were not even healed because I've seen Kelly in that state where she's really like has a lot of resentment towards somebody. Like, you just need to sit back down, just back away because you shouldn't allow all that anger to come out. Because first of all, it's not worth the energy. You do not need to put that much energy into that person that acted like you were nothing. Just keep on going. And I think really you should just experience different things to figure out what you really want. If this ex came back and you haven't dated any other people, go out there. Just you don't even have to date anybody. Just experience things for yourself. Focus on yourself. You're going to realize more about yourself as time goes on as well.
Just have fun.
And it's a growing experience. And sometimes it's a lesson. You have to look at it as, I think I've brought this up before, but if we keep making the same mistakes, sometimes they come back and they reteach us again. And we have to learn something. And sometimes you'll notice your ex texts when you're getting into a new relationship. And this relationship may seem more healthy and more balanced. And maybe it aligns with your values. And this person comes back as a test. And I believe it's like a test from like whatever you believe in, right? And I think it's kind of this karmic test to see if we're really ready for this next relationship.
Or if you're over them.
Yeah, if you're over them. And sometimes you just got to block that person out. Sometimes they just come back, like Kelly said, to ruin your relationship with if you're getting with someone else now because they are like, oh, I don't want them moving on. I don't want them happy. So really think about your needs and your wants. And if you really think that person's worth texting, then go right ahead. Not going to stop you. But really, personally, if that person dropped you or like you were nothing and they didn't care about you at all in the relationship and they were like, I could care, but I don't really care about this relationship. Don't put all that energy into them.